Okay.
Go ahead. Hola, ¿cómo
Hola.
está? Welcome to the Snax, where today we will be discussing a pointless episode.
Oh, well, you just have to come right out of the gate, don't you?
No, it's not pointless, but I will abstain for now. You guys talk
All
about it.
right. Well, before you rant, let's wait a second. Let some people file in.
Well, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna start the rant. You guys can talk about it positively for a minute, because this episode, rewatching it reinforced everything I thought. Absolutely
We
reinforced
no
everything.
no no. We let you rant for 15 minutes yesterday. Now, come on now.
No, that was
Remember,
being
he
goaded.
counted. Remember,
I
it was
wasn't freely
exactly
ranting. I was not freely
15.
ranting. I was being goaded.
Goaded.
Right.
Thank you, Debbie.
No, if you were goaded, you would have been herded in. That's what
I
we
was
did.
herded in. All
We
my ideas
goaded
were put
you.
in.
Debbie baited you.
Debbie baited you. Yeah.
Goaded me.
All right. Now we have people
Let's see.
filing in here. We have BRT, of course.
Hey, Big Red. Oh,
Go.
there's Debbie.
Oh, Debbie's back.
Hey, Debbie.
Baby, banana,
Who else?
banana,
Let's
baby,
see.
me,
Oh,
mama,
Buffy's
man.
here.
Oh,
Hey,
Buffy's
Buffy.
here. Who else?
Buffy,
Okay.
Buffy, Buffy, banana, banana, Buffy, me, mama, me. Buffy.
All right. And
And I'm here, but I'll be right back. I got to order a pizza. I'm listening.
all
Lord.
right. So
Oh,
today.
let me pull the episode up so we don't get all crazy out of order.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have to multitask enough. Help me a little bit here.
Yep. Why?
Because there was actually a lot of stuff in here, even though there was a
I know it.
storyline that you didn't like. So today
play
we are
already.
talking about episode 4, entitled "I Am Anne Frank."
No. I am Anne Frank.
That's what she said.
That's
No,
what
no,
I
no.
said.
I am Anne Frank.
Yeah, she said that.
Shut up, Michael.
She's trying to goat me, and it's not going to happen. Nice try.
So it starts with Anne Frank.
Anne frickin' Frank.
It starts with them going down the hallway, and Frank just basically is telling Sister Jude, you know, the police brought her down. She got into a fight. They didn't want to deal with her, and they basically dropped her at the doorstep because they didn't want to do the paperwork.
Yeah, and that very well may have happened back in that time. Now, what happens in Psych is it's called a 5150. The police will pick you up, they'll hold you against your will for 3 days, mandated for 3 days. Then you see a judge, and the judge mandates you go to lock placement. Then they send you to lock placement. So it takes a week or so to get to lock placement in nowadays. But they could have avoided paperwork like that. Sure, I buy it.
Yeah, and of course, you actually get to see Sister Jude out of her habit.
I know. I was going to point that out. I was like, we were just talking about that. And she wasn't frazzled about being around Frank without her habit on. It's only when she's around the Monsignor.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's because she's got a crush on the Monsignor.
Well, and it's proper for, church staff to be around other church staff. And he's the one, we find out he's the one who gave her big break in the church. And
so then it goes to Shelley. And we're following up from where the cliffhanger left off on the last episode, and she's still continued to be tortured. He's finishing up with her,
because she basically asks him, "Am I going to die?" And he said, "Well, no. If everything goes right, you'll live forever." I'm like, God, you're just so sick.
Right. You're like, wait, what? What the fuck?
No, we haven't had the what the fuck moment yet. But she needs to be crawling up the stairs.
I know.
We'll talk about the stairs next episode. But
me and Dawn decided we all get one.
What?
Me and Dawn decided we all get one.
I get
100. What the fuck?
Okay.
Okay, so that's
sorry, guys. This is how we work.
And then we are opening credits. And then we go to Arden.
I have to say it again. I love these opening credits because they're just so demented and creepy.
Just like the season, they're deep, they're dark. We're with Kit now, right after the opening, and Kit is one of his little sessions with Arden here, and he's going through the whole thing, and Arden's telling him, do you honestly believe, what you're telling me? Tell me the truth. Tell me what's going on. Kid's like still holding to his story.
Well, no, he wants to know where he wants to know what happened to the bug.
Yeah, he's like,
Kid, where did it crawl back into one of the orifices? Which one? Yeah. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Really, and then Kid gets out and he's over there talking with Grace, and this is a really neat dynamic. I actually like this relationship and how this is transpiring and written. Is they talk about guilt, and they talk about innocence and who's lying, and what your reality of the story is. And he says, I'm not crazy. And she says, you're absolutely right, because self-doubt is a sign of sanity. If you if you didn't have any self-doubt about it, then you'd be crazy. And he's like, really? And he goes, what about you? And that's when she tells her initial story of her how she got in there, about that there was a murder of her family, and she walked in on it, on the murder of her family, and it traumatized her. And they blamed her because they didn't have anybody else to turn to. They didn't have a suspect when they did that. We all know now, or by the end of the episode, that's not true. And she did the murders, very Lizzie Borden style. But she's right after Kit and them had a talk about innocence and not lying, and I'll believe you with whatever, and you just tell me what you need to tell me. She turns around and lies to him. She turns around and tells them the story. So that's interesting, because it's going to come back and play in a little bit. So that's them, and then we go to she's telling the story. They actually show it in live action.
Pretty gruesome when you think about it.
Oh, Lord. Then we got the Frank, the cop, is coming to Briarcliff, and he starts asking questions about practices at Briarcliff, and then starts focusing on Arden, and Thredson is there, and so is Jude, and they're like, and then Arden comes in. Jude's like, they start asking Jude questions after they ask Thredson questions, and she's like, "Oh, I got lots of information on my colleague here," and Arden's like starting to panic and
questions. Yeah, because
they don't get any information out of her, but she's like really, really not scares, but intimidates Arden at this one very moment. Jude's got the control of that, so that was pretty fun. But now Arden knows that Arden's the only one in the room. We don't even know as viewers yet. Arden's the only one in the room know that he murdered that girl, and why they're looking. Arden also thinks they might be looking for him from the experiments and stuff that he's doing at Briarcliff. So he's got to frazzle, run around and clean that up. But then we'll get to Timothy when he comes in.
There's like 4 different stories going on right now.
Yeah, there's a lot
in this episode.
Yeah, there's a lot back and forth.
And forth.
So then we get to Lana and Thredson. What's his name? Thredson. But and she starts talking about how her lesbianism, her gayness is a disease, and can he cure her of that? Can he get her out of here if he cures her disease or whatever? Because she thinks that's part of the reason why she's trapped by Jude, because Jude didn't like it in the religion thing and everything.
I just want to say something real quick. I don't know if anybody's ordered a pizza online from any of these places, but Domino's, when you order delivery, they give you an option for traditional delivery or contactless delivery.
Yeah, that's new, because everywhere now. Delivery. You can have contact-free delivery anywhere.
That's really cool, though. That's really cool. So anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, guys.
New way of life. So Thredson basically says, I can work with you. He's like, I don't believe you've done anything wrong. I'll help you. So we're gonna get into some gay conversion therapy.
He doesn't believe that Lana deserves to be there.
Yeah.
So his thing is like, if I treat you, then they may let you out, but if I don't, then you're gonna stay here. This is yours.
When we know what we know later, watching this scene and the following scenes that kind of lead up to where we know what we know, this is really sick. What he's doing, and it's incredibly manipulative, and he's so in control of the situation.
And not only is he manipulating her, he's also
building trust.
Manipulating Kit.
That's all he's doing. Building trust. He's making sure that he is the only person she'll turn to. and it's calculated. It's very specific. It's cruel, and Lana deserves it. No, just kidding. Okay.
That, Michael. No.
Well, she turned it in. Okay, so then we get to the ward. What's going on in the ward here? Oh Lord, we're back with hula ho. So, Sarah Paulson, Lana's in the ward, and she runs into Frank, and Anne just starts toting off about how some Arden gets brought up somehow.
Well, no, she sees Anne writing on, because you're not supposed to have paper and pencil.
Oh yeah, that's right, contraband. Yeah.
So she's like, "Give me your pencil. If they catch you with this, you're going to end up in solitary confinement." Because she's writing a letter to her friend.
Yeah. And she says, "So like I've been worse,"
and all this other stuff. And then basically she walks away and says, "I hope you enjoy pain." And then the next scene, we see Arden walk in to the day room, and he introduces himself to the new girl. That's what he calls her. "Oh, you must be the new girl." And
was it the day room? It looked like it was more secluded.
No, that was the day room.
He gets her in the day room. They go back to his office.
Oh yeah, because that's when she accuses him and snaps off on him.
Yeah, this is when okay. Here we go. Discussion. So this woman is brought in, and I'm going to spoil a little bit for the next episode. In the next episode, they show us and they tell us that she is not Anne Frank. There's not even close. She is American. Her husband that married her is not this guy that she says is GI that came and got her. She's delusional, and it didn't have something to do with post-traumatic from pregnancy or something or other. I don't know. Yeah, it was her depression after pregnancy.
Yeah, it was postpartum depression. It was actually they diagnosed as postpartum psychosis, I believe.
Yeah,
which is worse.
So just knowing that she truthfully is not Anne Frank. None of this is going to be real. So the showrunners brought.
Is it?
Wait, hold on. So the showrunners brought her in from the outside, completely separate from any of the storylines and any of the plot or any of the devices that we're now 4 episodes in, and we're already really well established with characters. And then all of a sudden she's introduced. She's introduced, and it throws the story off on this side road. Okay, fine, we'll go along. And then they start throwing in these curves, and these curves are unfair. They're unfair as storytellers, they're unfair as authors, because it's one thing to plant a bunch of clues and then you figure it out or you don't, and then when the reveal is, it's like, oh my god, like the whole Tate thing and Violet thing in Murder House. When we found out Violet was dead, we're like, oh shit, what the fuck? But when with this woman, they're planting all of these false leads, these false seeds, just to confuse you, just to send you off the right idea. So with the whole thing about Arden,
drive us crazy.
So the whole thing about Arden, but it's not fair. It's not realistic storytelling, because you're telling your viewers you're never going to figure it out because I'm lying to you, and it's like, so why bring in this separate character, pull this big old stunt with storytelling, because they brought in the whole Arden Nazi thing right here.
Well, yeah, they're trying to.
Now we know that she knows that she's not Anne Frank. How the fuck did she know that he was a Nazi? And so it's like, so you're thinking as a viewer the first time you're watching it, going, "Oh my god, maybe she is Anne Frank." Oh no, wow, what the hell? There's no way she would have known that he was a Nazi.
This is the way I see it. They brought her in to basically tell more of the Arden story.
But how would she know? This American woman who's never been in Germany, who's never in Nazi Germany at the time, would not have known that he was. All the stories that she's telling about him, supposedly with Arden's reaction, they were true.
Well, here's the thing: did you see in the next episode, and we'll talk about that on Monday? You see that all of her paperwork and everything, she's got it all sprawled out on the wall. You can actually see all the research and everything that she did.
How would she be researching him? It's like she's the name of that. It's like I said, that device was put there to confuse the audience, to send the audience on a false trail, and to provide information on Arden, which I understand. But that information could have been given in any number of ways. We didn't need to bring in this character who has nothing to do with our story. Now, if she was already an inmate, of Briarcliff, and she was already having some interactions with our main characters and having a reason to be there, all right, fine. They literally brought her in from the outside just to tell this off story. And all for the sole purpose of Arden's story, which could have been told by any number of characters in here. You didn't have to play this stunt mouse game, with every season from here on, they do this. They pick a little thing and just go off the rails for a while. Very Stephen King, his Cocaine Days, that he did, and maybe that's what they're honoring. I don't know. I would love for these to be commentaries. I just this whole episode set me off. We're going to talk about the next part that really set me off in a minute, but it's just there's every movie, every story, every book. There's things that I don't like about it. That's part of art. That's part of being opinionated.
Right.
But I don't like outside of that as a storyteller to play the audience as stupid. And that's what I don't like. That's what really, really frustrates me, because what? I'm well read, I'm well versed, I'm intelligent enough to figure these things out or not figure these things out, depending on how good your clues are set. Don't send me on a false trail. Don't lead up to something that you're not going to pay off because you just wanted to. That's what really frustrates me about this story. Anyway, rant over. No, we're gonna have a second rant in a minute, but Anne Frank ran over.
I understand. I mean, because we actually found out a lot of things. Timothy Howard is not who he seems.
Oh yeah. Well, Timothy Howard, he's gonna talk to Arden in a minute, and he's like, he knows that Arden's up to no good, because he's the
one who allowed him to call.
Huh?
He's the one that allowed him to do all the experiments.
Yep. He's like, you better go clean your stuff up, and you're like, dude, the guy running the hospital knows this mess is going on. What the hell? So,
in the meantime, they're all trying to make Jude go crazy between.
Well, let's go back to Anne Frank here, because she's still in Arden's office now, and Arden's like, she accuses Arden of being this Nazi, and he's freaking out because apparently what she's saying he really did or whatever. And he's like, what the hell? No. And she's and then he starts beating her, just like he beat Jelly and stuff. He's going around slapping women and mess. He's like, how do you like it here? And
he got a serious issue with women, as we see throughout the season, and then obviously later.
Oh yeah,
he's got mommy issues.
Jude comes in and does what? Oh, she's in her office. Who's it? Oh, she's talking to Anne Frank. She's like, what? She's like, what the hell?
Yeah, she's in her office talking to Anne
Frank. And she's like, no, I didn't die. I was in a pile of bodies, and I was alive.
She explains the whole story of how she lived.
And how she.
And if that would have been true, to answer Debbie's question, from the other, if that would have been true, that would have been my Richard Ramirez rant. It's like, first off, this poor girl who went through these horrific, fucking monstrous events, wrote the world's famous tome on an experience to this. It's taught in every school across the world.
Yeah.
At some point in your grade school, it is the greatest tool on the personal experience of the Holocaust. And for a showrunner to rewrite her history that she lived, that is total freaking insult to what she went through. That is absolutely complete. But they didn't make it true. So this is a crazy person's delusion, and I'm fine with that. But if we would have turned around and been like, oh my God, that is Anne Frank. Holy hell, sure. No. I probably back in the day, I probably would have been done with this show at that point, because it's like, you cannot desecrate her like that. Yeah. You cannot dishonor her like that. Anyway, again, why use real people when you don't have to in a fictional show? So, who the hell's this? The kid? Oh, kid. Okay, now James Cameron's son played young Dr. Arden. Perhaps Ryan was leaping at the opportunity to use real father's son. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm sure he had that plan from the start.
James Cromwell Jr.
Yeah.
He plays his son in Freak Show as well.
Freak Show as well.
When they do the flashbacks to Freak Show.
Which was really cool, because he looks just like his dad.
He talks like him too. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So now we've got Kit and Threston in the office, and Threston's telling me, look, you got two options here. One, I claim you're innocent, and you're not crazy, and I forget what the consequences of that was. You
live your life.
No, you go to trial.
You go to the election, execution, something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're probably gonna fry for it.
Right.
If I say that you're crazy and you admit and you did these things, you can live out your rest of your life peacefully in here. So, damn if you do, damn if you don't. And Kit's undecided at this point. He'll decide later for later circumstances what he's going to do. But at this point, he's undecided. He's like, just shocked that this whole fake thing that has been created around him is led into this, where he literally trapped and has no choice of anything in this matter.
So then we have Thredson telling him what he did, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. He feeds the information, which is this is another Thredson storyline that's absolutely fascinating, because this guy is so freaking evil. He did those things.
Yeah.
He's telling Kit.
And he's telling him all the details. And he's like, did you see his face? Did you see his face as he's telling him? I was like, oh my God. Like, this guy is
why Zach Quinto is so freaking phenomenal. Is because to play that level of evil, that level of manipulation, and he pulls it off just like a regular conversation. It's sick. It's really, really sick. And you just feel bad for Kit, because when you first watch it, you don't know this, so you're like, oh my God, this doctor is trying to help him, but it's the same thing with everybody. But then when you find out, you're like, and then you go back and rewatch it, you're like, God, this guy, he's from everybody from the get-go, from the jump.
Well, yeah, because he's basically manipulating everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But using
spoiler alert for anybody: Bredson's bloody face. Carl's talking about it.
Debbie made a comment about it, about your Aunt Frank.
Oh, God.
Can you see it
again? What's she say? I can't pull the comments up for some reason. It hasn't worked the last 2 days.
There we go.
Yeah, the picture and her being able to identify him and her story occurs, which is behavior that makes me think that she's legit Anne Frank, or maybe she believes is so much is made her thinking. Well, we know she's not. We know she's not, because they revealed that in the next episode. They revealed she's not. Absolutely not. She has a full medical history. She has the full children, and all of that mess. But yeah, she could have made some sort of psychic connection, or she could have actually, schizophrenics and stuff. They believe what they believe that's in their head is very, 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 very real to them. And we used to say, when we were in the mental institution that I worked at, we used to say, what if they're all right and we're wrong?
Right.
And it's a mind trip to think about that.
Well, and it also was Ryan shining a light on postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, and how bad it can get, because that's very true. Not enough people take it seriously and realize how bad and how deep and dark it can get, and especially if you have any other underlying mental illness or any other issues, that you're dealing with.
Again, why use real people when you don't have to?
Well,
so then we go to, oh, please don't tell me it's conversion therapy.
Yeah.
No. This is all the ardent stuff.
We do go to eventually to the
Kit. He's with Kit, telling his mess. What is it? Who is this? Jude and Thredson are in the office saying something or other. I don't remember what.
I don't remember either, and I just heard it.
This weird Sarah Paulson. Lando gets this delusion in the day.
Wasn't that Thredson telling Jude that he was only going to be there throughout the end of the week?
For a very short time.
That was Thredson telling Lana that he was only going to be there, so she had to make a
decision. Yeah, but he said something to Jude about, like, my time is up here or something, or does he say that later?
No, Jude basically gives him 2 weeks and then he's out.
Yeah, Jude set the limit.
Jude's done.
Yeah. She don't want him there. But yeah, that's another manipulation online. It's really that he's like, we're pressed on time. We've got to hurry into this, and I'm your savior. Totally. He guilted her into a lot of it. Manipulated her with guilt for sure.
Sick. And then the way he hands her the picture of Wendy, which we'll get to, but
so
she
has this delusion in the day room that she's basically foreseeing her future.
Expose.
Yeah, she's seeing herself doing this expose and everything.
So basically, what they're telling us is this is where she got the idea. She's looking at the patients. She's trying to figure out what she's going to do with her time here to make it not a pointless experience.
Well, because if we remember when she first got there, she was writing everything down and she kept hiding it, and they kept finding it, taking it from her. That's when they started doing the shock therapy on her. And, we haven't really seen her write since then. So this was her trying to keep it in her head and not lose her mind.
Yeah. Right.
like you said, for future when she was out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it also is neat because it's the first glimpse of kind of what the day room does. You know, this day room gives people a sense of freedom, a sense of expression of thought, and it's almost like its own little character that's going on. And we all know the infamous scene in the day room that we'll be getting to. But it's such a dark place. It's such a place of a lot of pain and tragedy and stuff that they keep making this light, this bright, light for these characters in the day room. So it's neat. And that set was a full set.
I want to point something out too. You remember last episode with the nor'easter when they said the 3 got out, and she said the pinhead. We all know who the pinhead is, and we have yet to see her since.
We saw the first episode.
No. Since last episode when they said she disappeared.
Oh yeah, no, we haven't.
We haven't seen. I just want to point that. I mean, we know why later, but I wanted to point that out because you don't think about it your first time.
Why did you looking for her? They're close.
I don't know. Why would she think that she ran away? I mean, I guess just because she was missing, but knowing her, why would you think she ran away?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Eunice is possessed, so she wouldn't think about it, but I think Jude would have. Well, there's also other nuns there.
Jude was also a little tipsy at the time, but like I said, at this point, we still haven't seen her, so she's still missing. Nobody's saying anything about her or thinking she got away or.
Also, everybody at this point thinks that Shelley got out.
Right, and they still think Shelley got out and got away. And they mention that, but they don't mention the pinhead again. They don't mention Pepper.
Yeah.
Nope, not yet. Pepper will have her importance in a little bit, but
I know, and that's why I wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
All right, so
let's see. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Buffy. She said Thredson and Jude were talking about the sterilization.
Oh yes. Oh my God, why did I forget that storyline?
She was going to sterilize Grace and Kit because this was. Did you mention that after their big sex scene?
No, that's right. They had sex in when they first went through their first.
We got to see Evan Peters' ass again.
Yeah, they first had their big heart to heart, and then she lies to him, tells them the story that she didn't do it. They end up having sex at that moment, just right there on the table, right there on the make table.
Yeah,
it's commonplace. It happens, but they just have no shame. They're not even trying to hide it. It's right there.
Well, they were in the spur of the moment. They just because they weren't planning on it. It was just suddenly they got hot and heated with what they were talking about, and they were there for each other, and they weren't going to judge each other.
All right.
And Grace is still crazy as a bat. So
yeah,
but see, I don't know. Is Grace crazy or is Grace psychotic?
Aren't they the same thing?
No, because psychotics have no. If you're a real antisocial, you really have antisocial with psychosis behavior. Whatever, you just don't care. You just don't give a shit. Whereas crazy, you don't even know what you're doing, or you have.
Buffy pointed out that the bloody face, the guys who were pretending to be bloody face were a comparison the same as the guys in Mr. Jingles in 1984.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they weren't the same people. It wasn't that. I don't think it was the same actors, but it was the comparison, where it was like the same kind of thing. These people reenacting a serial killer. There was 3 of them.
Oh, was the same. Okay, is that what you're saying, Buffy? Yeah. That it was just a parallel storyline. It wasn't the same actors. I thought it would have been really cool if it was the same actors. That would have been neat. Anyway, so
here's a little fact for everyone though. During the conversion therapy, when Daniel comes into the room.
Oh wait, we're not there yet.
Daniel.
We're not there yet. So we forgot the sterilization. So Jude says, well, these 2 were fucking in the kitchen. Yeah, you better sterilize them both. And Kit's like, what? You can't do that. And they're like, but we can. So we got that element thrown in there.
That's when Frank comes in and she has to go deal with Arden after that. So
and then she has Frank. She wants Eunice to take him, but Eunice asks if Frank can take Grace, and she wants to take Kit.
Eunice wants to take Kit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so little devil Eunice is going to have a talk with Kit.
And that's when Kit finds out about Grace, that she's not.
She tells him because obviously she knows the evil that each person has done, and she in great detail just tells Kit exactly what the real story was. And then that's when Kit is pissed off and why did you tell me that? Well, whatever. But
and then that's when he confronts her and she tells him the story, and she tells him because she was abused and that's why she did it. And then they have sex because he's like, yes, I believe you, I still trust you, I still care about you, blah blah blah, whatever. And then they have sex. And then they get caught because somebody walks into the kitchen, and then that's when they end up in Jude's office and they talk about the sterilization. And then we get to
aversion therapy.
There
was nothing more torturous than being a gay person and watching that mess happen. There was a movie with Nicole Kidman a couple years ago that was in awards rotation that we got the screeners to and everything, and that movie was the single most horrific event in my life. It was dumbfounded me how much it affected me. And that's just because if like you guys, you love your husband, you know what you know what you're what you're attracted to, you know where you're going. It's a natural thing in your body. It's the same for us. It's a natural thing in our body.
Wait, Michael, are you talking about Boy Erased?
Yes, Boy Erased. Yes.
Yeah, that one
was horrific. I had never felt viscerally felt something like that from watching that movie. And then this was just as bad. It wasn't a 2-hour movie all about it and manipulating a kid, but this is just as bad. And see, though it was Lana's choice, it wasn't Lana's choice because that was her individual thought. It was her choice to get out, to try and get out, and it was her choice because at the times that's what they were telling these people. That's what they had these people convinced that's what's needed to happen. And first off, it's gross and disgusting, and secondly, it can't be done. It's not a choice. It's not a mental state. It's hormones. It's emotion. So you can choose to not act on your behavior, but you can't choose who you are. Right. And to see the history of what has happened, through gay conversion therapy that has led all the way up to today. There's still gay conversion therapy going on today in certain places, and it's always usually based in some sort of religion. God telling people that they're going to hell, and these families, scorning these young kids to where they freak out and need to be changed, for society. But when you get down to the raw basics of it, it's abuse, it's torture. You're like what happened with Lana in this thing. It is absolute legal free torture. And think of if you are a young male just going through puberty, hitting 15, 16 years old, and they're doing that to you. That's torture. Yeah, and it's disgusting to watch. And that's why I totally forgot that this was in this episode. And I was already on my little soapbox about the Anne Frank, and then it gets to the scene, and I'm like, oh,
anyway, I wanted to bring up, because of this scene, the actor that plays Daniel in this scene, that was also he was he was in Hotel during Devil's Night. That was the guy that was sitting next to John Wayne Gacy.
Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yeah.
He played Jeffrey Dahmer? Oh, okay. Well, right.
No, he didn't play Jeffrey Dahmer. He played Jeffrey Dahmer's plaything during that whole scene with the. He was the one that with the drill, or where they did the drill thing.
Okay. Yeah, the victim.
Yeah.
Right. So we see how gay conversion therapy plays out, and again, for the purpose of our show, it's all just further manipulation of Threadson's on Lana, because she's asking for this. She's wanting this so bad, just deep in her soul. She emotionally wants this
because she wants to get out.
He's the only one that can give this to her so that she can get out. So it's this whole manipulation of trust through this torturous act, which is disgusting.
Yeah.
What do you guys say anything on this thing? Because I'm moving on. We never have to visit it again. So then Frank comes. We're dealing with Frank, and he's starting to investigate, what's going on, and then Jude starts asking questions, and they tell Jude, no, the girl is not. He didn't just get in a rough with this girl. That this is homicide. And Jude's like, what the fuck? He killed somebody. And they're like, yeah, Jude's like, ooh, let me help you.
Thought, yeah.
I will give you whatever information. So Jude's going to go on the hunt for Arden information. That's see again, this right here. Hello, could have served the same purpose as this entire Anne Frank bullshit, because Jude now is curious. Jude has reason to be curious because she is the lead character that has a direct relationship with Arden, and she's going to go on her investigation hunt. And then when she gets to that room where that man is there, she finds all that information. Bingo, we have the same reveal.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't need this mess. Agree to disagree, but we didn't need this mess.
Yeah.
So then, that's still the investigation. What happens after that? We've got more conversion therapy. It's just continuing the second scene, and this is where they bring in Daniel, and everybody watched it. So I don't need to review it. It's just disgusting. No, Daniel's got a cute butt. Okay. Jude is talking to Timothy at this point afterwards, and Jude is like, "What is going on?" She's like, you got this man here, and he's doing like all these things, and this is where we kind of get more information on Timothy, that he's in on it, and
Timothy's like, you need to let this. You need to basically let your obsession with Arden go.
Yeah,
because she's just like going on and on and on and about this, and obviously he's trying to cover something up, and basically accuses her of possibly, maybe this job is too difficult for you, maybe you need to be transferred, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then she leaves, and then next thing we know, he picks up the phone and calls Arden and tells him to clean up the mess that they're on to you. Yeah.
And the mess being the murder, the creatures, all that shit. It's crazy, man. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And we see a little mean streak in Timothy in this.
Yeah.
And that kind of sets you back because you really likes him. Then we're back in Arden, and he is doing something with the humajigs. He was cleaning up his mess, I guess. He was cleaning up his mess. Then we get to Sister. Oh, this is a really neat scene that follows right after Arden running around cleaning up his mess. Is we've got Sister Jude, and I don't know this sister's name. She's a mother superior of some sort. She's a higher. Forgive my ignorance. I don't know anything about nuns. She's a higher nun.
Superior, actually.
She's the boss, huh?
Yeah, she is the actual mother superior.
Yeah, and this Jude is questioning her faith. She's questioning why her motivation between this, and the mother just snaps at her. She's like, "You lost your faith. You need to refine it." End of story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, well, go ahead, man. So this is where you get more insight on Jude to see that when she came to this place, she really was searching for God. She really was searching for a change. That hitting that little girl really affected her that much, so to where that she's not trying to convince. These other people around her believed her and set her on her path, and so now they're trying to put her back on her path because they see that she's faltering. Nunnery is such an interesting thing. I don't buy into it, but it's an interesting thing. Then we go to Grace and Kit are going to talk here in a second between the walls because they're both they're getting ready to be sterilized, and that's when like, why did you tell me what you told me when I asked you not to do that? And she was like, I was scared, blah blah blah. I didn't think you were going to judge me. And he's like, wasn't the whole conversation about that? And so then she admits, he's like, tell me the truth. He said, what happened? He's like, I need to know what happened. And then she tells him that the true story. That what does it matter? Yeah, I did it. And then he's like, well, why? And then she says, and then she starts talking about the abuse.
Yes.
She had enough. She had gotten to the end of her rope that she was, sexually abused and, all of that stuff. And there you have it. And that's why the murders happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so we learn more about her. See, that's why I think that she's not crazy. She has absolutely a full conscious thought about what she's doing. And then she may have a little tendency of antisocial, that this event had made her a little bit antisocial because she, at this point, she believes her justification was payback's a bitch and I don't care.
Yeah.
So that lack of remorse is where it fits into kind of antisocial behavior. Mm-hmm. A true antisocial doesn't give a shit about nothing. They will literally disrupt the system just because.
Yeah.
I've only dealt with one fully clinically true antisocial in my 17 or many years that I was there, and it was, as a nurse, as a practitioner, it was absolutely the most difficult thing I had to deal with, because there's no motivation, there's no reason behind anything. So when you've got somebody just bucking the system and just messing with things just because, you can never predict it, you can never plan for it, and so it's constant chaos all the time with antisocials. But that guy, he taught me everything I need to know. Really dealing with hands-on with psych patients.
Yep.
It was a big learning curve, big learning experience. Okay. So then we've got
our very last, I believe. Are we at the last sequence?
Well, we're at Grace and them. Grace and what's going on in this room? What are they hearing? Somebody's screaming. Somebody's like screaming, and they're hearing it through the walls. And I forget why. Somebody enlighten me.
Kit and Grace were talking through the wall.
Yeah, but no, then somebody starts screaming. You start hearing stuff.
Because they're all in the individual cells, and they can hear everything.
Okay, so it just is. Okay. Yeah. Then Thredson, the last thing, Thredson comes to Lana, and he's like, okay, here's the plan. We're gonna get out. We're gonna do this. We're gonna, he tells her what's going on right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Jude standing in that glow, and she is talking to Kit, and Kit confesses. Now, the reason Kit confesses is because he has now that he has seen the light with Grace, and seeing that she went through what she went through, and Kit's heart, breaks for it. Kit's a good guy. Kit's just wants to take care of these women. Kit's just wants to, to make sure that they're protected, whatever. And with Alma gone, Kit is like, this is
a good guy.
Huh?
Kit's a good guy.
Yeah, this is my new mission. Is I'm going to take care of her. She's broken, and so that he needs to stay there. Now he doesn't want to go. He wants to stay there with her. He wants to protect her, because he knows that through sterilization or through beating him or Arden and all that mess, Kit knows what's up at that hospital. So he's like, I got to stay here and protect her. So he goes to Jude and he says, I want to confess. And Jude says, about the sex or whatever. And he's like, no, I want to confess my crimes. And he proceeds to tell her what Thredson had told him. So he's got the Thredson played this just like a fiddle. Thredson gave him all of the accurate information, so that when a confession came, there's no question that Kit did it, because he had all the right information, because Thredson did it and he gave him all the appropriate information. Totally crazy. And it works. I mean, there's a lot of ramifications of this.
Our final confrontation is in Arden's laboratory when he brings Anne Frank in there. And starts confronting her.
Beating the shit out of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because that's where they got all their information was, Anne Frank died when she was a child. Didn't she read the book and blah, blah, blah.
Right. And she's telling him, she's like, you were there, you're Hans Gruber and blah, blah, blah. I am Anne Frank, all this stuff. And then she pulls the gun on him. Because she had slipped the gun. She slipped the gun from the detectives. We skipped that.
Yeah.
The detectives that came in for Arden about the prostitute.
Uh-huh.
And
Frank.
Just to point out, everybody noticed too, I totally forgot. The one detective is the one, what's his name? Scully from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't watch the show.
Yeah, it's funny.
Character as in Freak Show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Frank something or other is in, and isn't it the same cop in Cult?
I'm not sure.
No, you're thinking of the character. No,
huh? The same name. We don't know if that's the same character yet. It's the same name though.
So anyway, she pulls out the gun and threatens him, and I forgot what he did. He did something.
Well, he like swung at her or something, and she like ducked or whatever, and then pulled the gun out on him.
Well,
and that's when she heard some noises coming from the closet, and so she goes, "Who's in there? What's in there? Who's in there?"
She sees one of the fucking.
Right after
and then we get the big Shelly reveal.
Yeah. Then we got
that's the moment. That's the moment, Mike. You get this one.
Yeah. Oh, that happened next episode. We didn't get it.
No, they reveal Shelly in the. That's how it ends, basically. Is we reveal Shelly in the
closet.
Yeah. Oh, in the closet. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's her in the closet.
I remember Mary Eunice, when they're coming in to investigate or whatever. Mary Eunice then drags the body out to the school later.
Okay. I thought it was just one of his creatures. I forgot. Oh, it is Shelly. That's right. Okay, I wasn't paying attention to it. Yeah, that's right.
That's the big reveal.
She's
all,
the last thing that Shelly says is "kill me" because she's got the gun.
Yeah, she's reaching out. She's reaching out. She's like, "Kill me."
Yeah, look at that. And then they're going to put her in this weird position in the beginning of the next episode. Everybody, pay attention to the beginning of the next episode and tell me where that little staircase leads. I think it's just like a dead staircase. It's just sitting in the middle of the sidewalk.
It's at a school playground.
Yeah, but it's weird. It's a weird staircase, huh? Just like kind of goes underground, just kind of out of nowhere.
Yep. And that is the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And this is only part one.
Well, yeah, and we already covered a lot.
Part one. I just want to kind of point out, has everybody been voting?
Yes.
All the polls are officially up now. There's 23. I numbered them just to make it easier for people, but there's 23 of them. So just kind of go down the list. They should be in order, but I know they go backwards because I started with one.
Right.
So work your way down from 23.
And make sure that you join the group in order to vote. All of the links are listed in the description down below.
And we also have the link on our page if you're already a member of the page. So
the name of the group is called Late Snax Chaos.
No, Late Night Chaos.
Late Night Chaos.
Snax is our page and our channel. So that way we have the snacks on the channel. We create chaos late at night on the group.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So the polls will be open for the voting until Tuesday at
11:59 p.m. Basically midnight Wednesday morning. So I mean 11:59 p.m. Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Not a sound from the pavement.
April 14th, 2020. And then voting, we will do the awards show on April 15th, 2020, which is Wednesday. The Wednesday right after.
Yep.
And then we're going to be redoing this all over again the next Wednesday for Asylum.
Yep.
Yes.
But it is very important. You all need to put your votes in for every category, not just specific ones, but all of them.
Yes. Please do. Please do. And if anybody notices, there's some nice images with each category, with each option.
I see it. What kind of images?
You have to go in there.
You have to go look at it.
I got to look at it.
You'll like it.
We put a lot of thought into this one.
A lot of work.
You guys go. This is your little baby.
No, this is my little baby.
It's a Cabbage Patch Kid.
Oh my God.
Everybody, this is Lily.
I just want to take her home.
This is my baby Lily.
She was born in the Cabbage Patch.
Hi, Lily.
Yeah. And then what are the ones that deliver the storks? Then the stork brought her in.
Yep. Lily.
She's got the eyes like Cabbage Patch Kid. She's got the cheeks like Cabbage Patch Kid.
She hears you now.
I could just eat her up.
Lily.
You see Michael? You see Dawn?
This is her.
You see him? Say hi, guys. Say hi. No, she's trying to jump over there.
Hey, Lily, get a job. Did you pay your taxes?
She's pay your bills? Not enough yet. She's only, 4 months old?
She can
not even.
There are
3 and a half. 3.5.
There are 3.5 months old that are working. They do the Gerber commercials.
She could be the Gerber baby. I could see it.
Are they still doing that?
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I don't know about now,
but yeah, that is the end of the episode, guys.
Wand of the day.
Wand of the day, Michael.
I will show. Okay, this. What's today?
Friday.
Wednesday. Friday. Yeah, Friday. I don't keep track anymore.
No, this is gonna be a fun next several days with this little run. We'll just start with this. This is a wand of One of the Death Eaters. We're getting into named Death Eaters now. Actual like named characters that are. This is the one of. Just remember this, and we'll explain more tomorrow. Flunky who ends up being part of the staff when Snake takes over in Deathly Hollows. So it's well, I'll explain tomorrow. Just remember, Electo Carol. Okay. Important tomorrow and the next day. Because these are very unique story wise with
yep. Be sure and come back tomorrow because we will be discussing RuPaul.
RuPaul. Oh, yeah. Oh wait, so why did I do this one today? Because I'm not doing Death Eaters for RuPaul.
You like pizza.
On this on Monday. So remember, I'll remind you about this one on Monday.
You can wave.
Dirty.
Oh, Dawn, he's dirty.
Are you dirty?
Pizza. Look at that face.
Oh.
Nice. Was it good for you?
I need a wipe.
You need a wipe? Okay, we'll get a wipe.
How do you understand that? Kaylee does the same thing. She understands that. I heard I need a boy.
Say excuse me. Say excuse me. There you go. Because when it's your own kid, you have no choice but to figure it out or they scream at you.
Yep, until you figure it out.
Right.
All right, guys. So we are going to get off of here. Thank you guys so much for coming and hang out. We will be back.
Say bye to everybody.
Bye.
Say bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Don't forget to
Oh,
vote.
tonight's the Madonna episode.
Yeah. So have a great rest of your day, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Bye, guys.